Welcome back to another Conspiracy Theories and Chill. On tonight's episode, we're going to be discussing the Clinton body count. A very long list of people have mysteriously died around the Clintons, as you can see by this list next to me. Over 50 people tied to the Clintons have died suspiciously or committed suicide over the years. So many that I can't even make the names listed here large enough to be visible for you. Over 50 deaths around just two people, and yet no one questions it. There's no investigation, and not even any media interest into this weird phenomenon? Now, how can that be? Any good detective will tell you that there's no such thing as coincidence. 50 strange deaths around two people, and no one's even curious? For comparison, think of how many people you know that have died under mysterious circumstances. Now, was that number even close to 50? Mine was 0, but let's say it was 2. Now let's times that by 10, because the Clintons are surrounded by many more people than me, at least by 10 times. Now my number is only 20, and that's still not even half of as many that have died around the Clintons. Now let's take a quick look at some highlights of the list of deaths around the Clintons, and briefly go into how each of the victims were connected to them. 22 Clinton bodyguards have died under suspicious circumstances. 8 journalists who were investigating the Clintons have met strange ends. 23 witnesses in investigations involving the Clintons have mysteriously died. 11 political staff members, 13 lawyers, and 7 women around the Clintons have all died. The causes of these deaths range from 16 by airplane crashes, over 20 suicides, and a lot of suspicious heart attacks and strange accidents. Out of respect to those who have died around the Clintons and to be thorough, I'll go through the list of deaths tied to the Clintons one by one right now. James Mcdougal, Clinton's convicted Whitewater partner, died of an apparent heart attack while in solitary confinement. He was a key witness in Ken Starr's investigation. Mary Mahoney, a former White House intern, was murdered July 1997 at a Starbucks coffee shop in Georgetown. The murder happened just after she was to go public with her story of sexual harassment in the White House by Bill Clinton. Vince Foster, former White House counselor and colleague of Hillary Clinton's at the Little Rock Rose law firm. He was also a suspected lover of Hillary's. He died of a gunshot wound to the head that was ruled a suicide. Ron Brown, the Secretary of Commerce and former DNC chairman, reported to have died by impact in a plane crash. A pathologist close to the investigation reported that there was a hole in the top of Brown's skull resembling a gunshot wound. At the time of his death, Brown was being investigated, and had spoke out publicly of his willingness to cut a deal with prosecutors. Then there's C. Victor Razor II and Montgomery Razor, both major players in the Clinton fundraising organization who died in a private plane crash in July of 1992. And Paul Tully, Democratic National Committee political director, who was found dead in a hotel room in Little Rock. He was described by Clinton as a dear friend and trusted advisor. Then there's the story of Ed Willie. Willie was a Clinton fundraiser who was found dead November 1993 deep in the woods of Virginia by a gunshot wound to the head. It was ruled a suicide. Ed Wiley died on the same day that his wife Kathleen Wiley claimed that Bill Clinton had groped her in the Oval Office of the White House. Jerry Parks, who was the head of Clinton's gubernatorial security team in Little Rock. He was gunned down in his car at a deserted intersection outside of Little Rock. Parks' son said that his father was building a dossier on Clinton. He allegedly threatened to reveal the information, but after he died, the files were mysteriously removed from his house. James Bunch. Bunch died from a gunshot suicide. It was reported that he had a black book of people which contained the names of influential people who visited prostitutes in Texas and Arkansas. James Wilson was found dead in May 1993 from an apparent hanging suicide. He had reported ties to Whitewater. Kathy Ferguson, ex-wife of Arkansas Trooper Danny Ferguson, was found dead in May 1994 in her living room with a gunshot to her head. It was ruled a suicide, even though there were several packed suitcases as if she were going somewhere. Danny Ferguson was a co-defendant along with Bill Clinton in the Paula Jones lawsuit. Kathy Ferguson was a possible corroborating witness for Paula Jones. Bill Shelton, an Arkansas state trooper who was Kathy Ferguson's fiancé, was critical of the suicide ruling, and he was found dead in June 1994 of a gunshot wound while visiting Kathleen's grave. Kathy Baugh, attorney for Clinton's friend Dan Lasseter, died by jumping out of a window of a tall building January of 1994. His client was a convicted drug distributor. Florence Martin, accountant and subcontractor for the CIA, who was related to the Barry Seal Mena Airport drug smuggling case. He died of 3 gunshot wounds. Suzanne Coleman, who reportedly had an affair with Clinton when he was Arkansas Attorney General, died of a gunshot wound to the back of the head, which was ruled a suicide. She happened to be pregnant at the time of her death. Paula Gruber, who was Clinton's speech interpreter from 1978 until her death in 1992, died in a one-car accident. Dan Casolaro, who was an investigative reporter investigating Mena Airport and Arkansas Development Finance Authority, slit his own wrists in the middle of his investigation. Paul Wiltshire, who was an attorney investigating corruption at Mena Airport with Casolaro and the 1980 October surprise, was found dead on a toilet June 22, 1993 in his Washington, D.C. apartment. He had delivered a report to Janet Reno just 3 weeks before his death. John Parnell Walker, a Whitewater investigator for Resolution Trust Corp., jumped to his death from his Arlington, Virginia apartment balcony August 15, 1993. He was investigating the Morgan Guarantee scandal. Barbara Weiss, Commerce Department staffer who worked closely with Ron Brown and John Hung. Her cause of death is unknown. She died November 29, 1996. Her bruised nude body was found locked in the office at the Department of Commerce. Charles Meisner, Assistant Secretary of Commerce who gave John Hung special security clearance, died shortly thereafter in a small plane crash. Dr. Stanley Hurd, Chairman of the National Chiropractic Healthcare Advisory Committee, died with his attorney Steve Dixon in a small plane crash. Dr. Hurd, in addition to serving on Clinton's advisory council, personally treated Clinton's mother, stepfather, and brother. Barry Seal, the drug-running pilot out of Mena, Arkansas, whose death was no accident. Johnny Lawhorn Jr., a mechanic who found a check made out to Bill Clinton in the trunk of a car, left at his repair shop. He was soon thereafter found dead when his car hit a utility pole. Stanley Huggins investigated Madison Guarantee. His death was a purported suicide, but the report was never released. Herschel Friday, attorney and Clinton fundraiser, died March 1, 1994 when his plane exploded. Then there's the strange case of the boys on the track, Kevin Ives and Don Henry. The reports say that the boys may have stumbled upon Mena, Arkansas airport drug operation. A controversial case, the initial report of death says that it was due to them falling asleep on the railroad tracks. Later reports claim the 2 boys had been slain before being placed on the tracks. Many linked to this case died before their testimony could come up before a grand jury. The following people had information on the Ives-Henry case and met unfortunate ends. Keith Coney died when his motorcycle slammed into the back of a truck July 1988. Keith McMaskill died stabbed 113 times November 1988. Gregory Collins died from a gunshot wound January of 1989. Jeff Rhodes was shot, mutilated, and found burned in a trash dump in April of 1989. James Milan was found decapitated. However, the coroner ruled his death was due to natural causes. Jordan Kettleson was found shot to death in the front seat of his pickup truck in June of 1990. Richard Winters, who was a suspect in the Ives-Henry deaths, was killed in a setup robbery of July 1989. All of the following Clinton bodyguards are now dead. Major William S. Barkley, Jr., Captain Scott J. Reynolds, Sergeant Brian Hanley, Sergeant Tim Sable, Major General William Robertson, Colonel William Densberger, Colonel Robert Kelly, Special Agent Gary Rhodes, Steve Willis, Robert Williams, Conway LeBeau, and Todd McKeon. A world-renowned space economist who had ties to the Clintons, Molly McCulley, was found brutally murdered in Baltimore Park. John Ashe, the former president of the UN General Assembly, was awaiting trials on bribery charges when he turned up dead in June, apparently having crushed his own windpipe while lifting weights in his home. Prominent Clinton critic Victor Thorne was found dead of an apparent suicide on his birthday. Seth Rich, who was the suspected leaker of the emails to WikiLeaks, was murdered in a botched robbery, and no clues or anything has happened with that case. Joe Montano, a Filipino-American activist and aide to Senator Kane, died at 47. Sean Lucas, the DNC process server who served the DNC with the lawsuit over the 2016 primary died under suspicious circumstances. An investigator who was looking into the Sethridge case for the Sethridge family died under suspicious circumstances. Klaus Eberwein was found dead before testifying against Clinton Foundation in the Haiti cover-up. And the man who sought Clinton's emails from Russia's hackers also committed suicide. 56 people, and that's leaving out a few key ones like JFK Jr., who I believe Hillary had killed to win that Senate seat. So why no investigations then? All this weird and strange, yet no one pulls back the curtain on the Clintons having ties to all these strange deaths? Why not? Could it be because the Clintons are powerful and have close ties to the cabal that actually runs our world? I think it could be. I think it is. I think you have 56 people die suspiciously around you and no one looks at that. Someone has to wonder who's protecting you. And I think we all know who that is. The world elite. I think the facts are clear from all this circumstantial evidence. The Clintons clearly have blood on their hands. They may not be responsible for all of these deaths, but 56 strange deaths happening around two people, I'm not buying that you had nothing to do with any of them. So many witnesses in cases you were being investigated for, so many women who had come out against Bill, so many lawyers handling cases for you that knew things that they maybe shouldn't have known. There's just too much of that and too many coincidences for me to believe that this was all accident, that all these people died around the Clintons. I believe that Bill and Hillary had something to do with these deaths. And I believe we need to spread truth and awareness until people like this, with this kind of power, are brought to justice and have to deal with what they've done. So share this video and help people realize how many strange accidents have actually happened around the Clintons. Until next time, thank you for watching Conspiracy Theories and Chill. I've been me, you've been you. I'll see you right here next time I have a new video. While you're here, remember to click subscribe and click the little bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for stopping by. See you guys later.